Good afternoon, guys. So, this is the first week in a while where I'm getting back into reviewing my trades. Took a break for a while because honestly, I just haven't been locked in with reviewing my trades, but I am now. As far as this recorded part, I'll be reviewing just my options trades. And right after I end the recording, I will review my futures trades as well. Today was a green day on futures also. I started off red on futures, but I had a huge 80 tick 20 point ES trade, which flipped to green for the day. As far as options go, today was an awesome day. Friday was the best day on futures and options that I've had in a while, and Mondays must have Friday's momentum must have carried into this week because today was fantastic as well. As far as the pre-market analysis goes, I was leaning mildly bearish overall, mostly just due to the trend, but also for NQ to reach demand. So mild bearish sentiment. The time I sent out the pre-market analysis, we were on this pivot, so I said there's a decent chance for reversal. And as far as pre-market pivots are concerned, I have these ones marked out. They're fairly minor though. Same thing on NQ. And I just have minor pivots to the upside, right? I have this and this here. Now, when the market opens, and keep in mind, we are in pretty heavy demand on ES. We're on daily and 4-hour demand. So pretty heavy demand. And this 4-hour demand has not really been tested yet. Market open pretty bearish. No short trade to take. It's risk to reward to demand is shot. Well, NQ flips super strong. And I'm now bullish for this pivot and this pivot on ES if we invalidate a majority of the drop, because that is the whole theory behind price action has a tendency of chasing the nearest point of liquidity, and that would be this pivot, especially after invalidating a majority of the move. Well, the problem was NQ was so much stronger than ES. I filled QQQ calls here. This is where I entered. But the problem was obviously the risk to reward is destroyed. Normally I wouldn't be able to get in here. However, the ES risk to reward was not destroyed. So I entered QQQ calls. It was a lot stronger. But my first PT was actually this ES pivot here. Now, unfortunately, right after I got in, NQ actually flipped weak, which really sucks. But we did shoot up. Now, I took a decent amount of profits at this pivot. Didn't look like it was going to stop. So I actually left a decent sized runner position. I had a minor pivot here on each. And then right here, just minor stuff all the way up. Once I got to this pivot, I pretty much sold. I sold more of my runner position, very small position left. I pretty much only just had a runner position for supply. And if it broke into supply with momentum, I'll leave literally one single contract. Remember, these QQQ contracts are cheap, so I'm able to trim a lot more. Instead of entering 10 contracts, I'm entering 40 contracts or whatever it is. And someone says the stream is frozen. It's not frozen for me. So, yeah, it looks like Discord's bugging out. I'll rejoin real quick. But guys, remember, Discord has been having issues lately, so if the stream isn't working for you, that's unfortunate, because it'll work for like half of people and then not work for the other half. Anyways, so we get to this next pivot on NQ. It's beautiful. I don't remember what my gains were at here. They were pretty close to 100%. I think I was at 80% gains on QQQ. And SES was starting to look stronger than NQ again. Now, I'm personally bullish for ES to get to supply. And I'm also leaning bullish for NQ to maybe break supply depending on how it tests that supply zone. Well, NQ gets the pivot. ES doesn't. Now ES starts flipping weak. Oh, I actually entered SPX half size calls here. As ES started flipping strong, you can see NQ got a red candle, ES got a green one, and you see how much momentum this is. It doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. But I can't enter a full-size position because the risk reward doesn't make sense, and it's not a very developed setup yet. So I entered half-size SPX calls here at 2.95-ish, I believe it was. And My goal is to average down my second half if we bullishly consolidate. And the only way I average up on this trade to add my second half is if we break into supply very bullishly. Well, ES unfortunately flipped weaker, but I did average down. I was looking for the bottom of this buying wick to be tested on NQ. Kind of a minor thing, but you know, if I were to drop the time frame to like the 5-second chart or something, you would see that this was at least a minor little pivot that I wanted to see tested. And it tested and it held. So, and this is options right now, Chris. I'll talk about futures here in a second. Luke, rejoin or something. Lucas, rejoin or something. It's a Discord issue. Or switch your internet connection to data. So I averaged down. I added my second half on this trade right when it kind of puts in a smaller buying wick. So I filled my average down at 2.25. It was actually a good fill because the contracts, the calls only got to around 2.2, I believe. And we pretty much just shot up. So PT was supply. I took profits at supply, and then I held a single runner position until this on NQ. This supply broke. And I sold the last of my SPX trade here. Big reason for me selling my runner is because of this pivot, right? This is the pivot I was anticipating, and it was that was my final PT for NQ. Could still lean bullish for supply as well, but I mean this trade was already 180 points, you know, crazy. And the reason I sold, well, the biggest reason why I sold everything overall, otherwise, because if I were confident that ES was going to break supply, I would hold for it, just like I did for NQ. And that would also line up nice because ES gets the pivot and NQ gets the supply. Well, the options contracts, they stopped moving here, okay? So right here, the calls hit, my average was 2.6, they hit 3.4. They were chopping a bunch down here as well. I also forgot to mention, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but when I trimmed half here for a 17% gain and then re-added that half that I trimmed. So I pretty much scalped an extra 5-10% off of this trade just because ES's weakness was concerning me and NQ was chopping up. Doesn't really matter though. It's just a little bit of extra money I made. But anyways, 3.4 right here on the SPX contracts, and they hit a peak of 3.4 here, which means on this drop, they dropped back damn near break even. So the contracts started chopping a ton. Price action was going up, but the contracts were not. And that always pushes me to close my trade because now the risk is heavily skewed against me, right? If my contracts aren't getting more valuable when it's going up, what happened when it stops going up? It's going to be a lot worse, right? So that was my day on options. I got the QQQ runner at this point, and this is the exact moment where I closed everything. The QQQ runner got to 136% gains. However, it was a huge run. I'm not holding for most of it, right? My initial PT was nowhere near where it is. I averaged roughly about 40 to 50% gains on it. Nothing crazy. But 136% gains is what the final one was sold at. And on SPX, same 3.4 for only 30% gains, which sucks. But those are the only two options trades that I took today. And that's pretty much the analysis behind them. Just first analysis, it was a liquidity momentum trade and validated majority of the move, so I'm bullish in the nearest point of liquidity, especially coming out of this 4-hour demand. And the second trade was a little bit more speculative. It was capitalizing on a strength divergence, which unfortunately did not last because it flipped weak right after I entered. It was a mix of a strength divergence and a speculation on upcoming bullish consolidation. And I was correct. That ended up being the top. Literally sold the top, and then it came back down. And my futures trading began, which I'm going to review right now. But as far as this options portion, I'm going to be doing this every single day again, except Fridays. Do I even have the trade review scheduled on Fridays? I don't think I do. Let me see real quick. I do have it scheduled on Fridays. All right, well, I guess I'll do it on Fridays as well, but maybe not all the time. We'll see. But as far as every other day, for sure, I will be back to doing my normal trade reviews. You guys can watch these on YouTube. Obviously, you guys have my alerts in the alert channel. You guys also watch me trade live every single morning with you guys. And what is it, 80% of mornings or something? 70% of mornings? Feels like 90 lately, but I feel like that's a little inflated. Almost every day you see me post in announcements, a screenshot of chat. Most people are green. Most people are doing very well, especially these last couple of days. And market's been very volatile, so that means a lot of opportunities. So watch my trades live and trade with me live, or follow my alerts live in my alert channel. And then my YouTube will start being used for the trade reviews again. Learn why I did what I did, so on and so forth. But honestly, if you attended live, you know why I did what I did, because I talk you guys through my entire thinking progress. You guys watch me debate on entries, debate on exits, get absolutely hornswoggled and bullied by the market sometimes. All of those great things. All right. I will end the recording right now. I'll post this to YouTube, and then I will very quickly go over my futures trades.